Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to our session today. So our session today is on sweet cravings. It's sort of a continuation from yesterday, not entirely, but a bit. The reason we're talking about this is, of course, the topic yesterday was about sweet cravings, and today is also the start of what we call the Shradha season in India, or in most parts of India, if I may say so. So this topic was basically triggered by two things. One is, of course, Master Marilek's session on generational healing. And the second thing that triggered this was our session yesterday on sweet cravings. So what I'm going to do is we're going to combine these two together. The idea is that rather than keep things in theory, let's try and see what we're supposed to do with this information. And I will tell you that the more I learn, the more I realize I know nothing. So anyway, so take all of this with, with a view of validation for yourself, and also that this is my personal experience to some extent, and putting together whatever information I have. Okay. So, although we're talking about sweet cravings, it could be cravings for absolutely anything. Those of us who have not seen the video, have not attended yesterday's session, you can find the YouTube video on YouTube. The channel is called Sheetal Chunchunwala. And I think we'll put up a screen with my name later so that you can see the spelling. Okay. And those of you who like this video, please subscribe so that you can get our other videos too. Okay. So ancestors, we all know that we have a family tree. So there's us, and then there's our parents, and then going up. So often in many systems, it is believed that for 7 generations, the habits, the destiny, the karma of 7 generations apparently affects us, and of course our children, and going down. Okay, so that's 7 up, and 2 or 3 down, depending on how long we decide to live. Now, so, so for those of us who have who have ever taken part in a Shradha ceremony, as you know, in once a year we have the Shradha ceremony. We have the Shradha month, which starts on the Purnima of Virgo, which is today, and ends on in Bengal. It ends on a day called Mahalaya, which is 15 days hence, which is the Amavasya, or the new moon, or the yeah. So, what is the purpose? So what I've understood is that when we do the Shradha, we are basically allowing our ancestors to meet their desires through us. Okay, so this brings us to another interesting topic that Kunal had requested me to talk about, which is life after death. So we're not talking exactly about life after death, we're talking about some parts of it. So it is my understanding that when the physical body dies, the etheric body, which is the energy body, which is what we work on mostly when we do pranic healing, that also disintegrates. What remains is the astral body. Now, the astral body is the sum total of our emotions and our desires. Also, what remains is the mental body, which is all our collective thoughts. Now, the astral and the mental body together still remain till they get disintegrated. What's going to help them to disintegrate? So till the soul gives up its desires and works out its desires, the astral body remains. So what? So what is this? So often you may have seen that after a person passes away, we have a 12-day, or depending on your culture, we have a certain days of ceremony, right? And I remember as a child, I used to ask my family members, it's like, but the dead person can't see. So why are we like doing all this? Like, what are we doing this for? We already know this person is like, left the body. So why are we doing this? So what I understand is that sometimes when people die suddenly, or even if they're not prepared to die and the body has died, they don't know that they're dead. Okay, so if you've seen this movie called Bhutnath, which has Amitabh Bachchan in it, it's a very good, if you look at it from a spiritual point of view, it's a very interesting movie. Okay, so it talks about basically the fact that the person who's dead doesn't know they're dead. So what happens is that they roam around the place looking for food, looking for drink, not realizing that they're dead. So sometimes the reason why we have these particular, photographs with, a flower thing on it, or whatever different cultures have, the idea is that it is really meant for the person who has passed away. It is for their information, because there is no other way to communicate with them. So that they, if they are roaming around the area and they see their own photograph with a flower mala on it, then they know, oops, I'm dead. Okay, so that's one. So why is it relevance for sweet cravings? Okay, so I'm coming to that because the topic is cravings. Now, what happens is that if they have unfulfilled desires, then they will try to fulfill those desires through people around. Now, they will use anyone's body who is available. Usually, because we, as their descendants, are somehow connected to them, they will, and we have empathy and feelings for them, they will try to tend to use our body. So that is again one of the reasons why during a Shradha or after a Shradha, or after when we do what we call the Barsi, which is every year we remember our ancestors and we offer food for them, is basically a way of inviting them to come and to eat that food and to satisfy themselves, to basically help them to overcome the desire so that they can move to the next level. Of course, the food is only a small part of it. There are other things like prayers. We're supposed to pray, we're supposed to communicate with to the soul that there is God. So even if the person was not godly or not very much into spirituality when they were alive, the hope is that after they have passed out of the body and they are being reminded of the prayers, they will again seek God and find a way to God faster, because it's not fun to live in the astral body. Okay, if we think that just craving for a cup of tea is driving us crazy right now, once we're in the astral body and we don't have a physical body, according to Arthur Powell's book, The Astral Body, if I remember correctly, he says the craving is 1,000 times more intense. So just imagine, just for a second, imagine your favorite drink, tea or coffee or whatever it is, you want it right now, multiply that by 1,000, okay? Stay with me. Plus you don't have a physical body to access it. What are you gonna do? That is very, very painful. Okay, so which is why, again, in the school of Pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, we talk about moderation, we talk about self-control. These are some of the reasons for it. It's not just for this life, it's also for later. Okay, so what are we coming to? Food cravings. So sometimes what happens is that because the soul is looking for a way to satisfy that desire, they start to work, with people in their family who don't have very strong willpower. So what they will do is they will kind of, it's like, suppose I'm drinking a cup of, well, right now it's just water. So suppose I'm drinking this, suppose it's milk, okay, example, it's actually water, but anyway, suppose it's milk and I'm drinking this milk. What will happen is that my ancestor, who's very fond of milk, will come and like closely sit with me, okay, and will increase my desire for milk. Okay, why? Because they wish to satisfy, by being close to the milk, because I have the milk in my hand, by being close to the milk, they are also satisfied. Now, there's no need to be afraid. Okay, first thing we need to be aware is that our ancestors, if they are struggling in the astral world, it's our responsibility to help them. Okay, so that's why we do the funeral ceremonies, is to help that soul to move on. Remember, one day we will also leave the body and we may also still have unfulfilled desires. So again, by the law of karma, we may expect that our descendants will also try and help us. Similarly, when we do the Shradha, when we do the funeral ceremonies, be aware of that. Be aware of the fact that the soul may be around, that the soul is looking for the light, the soul is trying to merge with the light. And one of the ways in which we can help them is to help them to work out their desires for sweets, their desires for food, for anything else. That's why if you notice, we give clothing, we give, a lot of things used to be given in the past. These days, I'm seeing that we don't really give that much. But anyway, the bottom line is basically you give it to them so they feel like, oh, okay, I'm being taken care of. Now, sometimes if you're going through a binge and somebody comments like, oh, your great grandfather had a fetish for this item, or your great grandmother really liked this item, or something like that, just be aware that it is possible that they are around and through you they are trying to satisfy that desire. So rather than get scared, this is my suggestion again, and this is what I have started doing, is that when I participate in a Shradha or I participate in a funeral, I try to think of myself as someone who is helping this soul to satisfy a desire. So when I'm eating or when I'm offering, I'm doing it with a lot of love. For a lot of us, at least in my community, when we have this particular period, the Shradha ceremony, the Shradha, 15 days of Shradha or 14 days of Shradha, it's like, oh God, we have to eat fried fruit again. Oh God, so I'm going to become fat, this and that. But just be aware, it's not for you. Just do it as a service. No, do it as, it literally is an offering to your ancestors. So all this good food is made, it's a feast. They're supposed to come, they're supposed to enjoy it, and we're supposed to help them. Of course, there is the angle of the prayers, and that's a really important part. So I would just say again, when I was a child, I did not believe in any of these systems, and I used to think that they were all rubbish. But what I'm realizing more and more as I read is that I know less and less. The more, it's like the more I read, the less I realize, the less I know. So that's kind of where I am right now. And I'm realizing that these ceremonies really were just meant to make it simple, ritualize it, make it really easy for people, because when the yug changes, so when we go from Satyug to Kali Yug and then Kali Yug back up, when the yug begins to change downwards, then people stop understanding energy. So from Satyug to Kali Yug, people stop understanding the role of energy. They cannot see energy. And then again, from Kali Yug, when the cycle starts to go back up to Satyug, that's when people begin to see energy again or understand energy, which is kind of where we are, because Kali Yuga is over and we are going up now. So we are in the lower mental phase of the 24,000 year cycle, which is called the Great Year, elaborated by Sri Yukteswar Giri in his book, The Holy Science. Written about it in short in the book Existence of God is Self-Evident by Master Choa. I highly recommend that you read the book, The Existence of God is Self-Evident by Master Choa. Anyway, so binge eating, sweet cravings. If you have sweet cravings that you feel are not yours, then I would say just, firstly, of course, as we talked about yesterday, offer them up to God. Okay. Second, if you're consuming them, if you're participating in a Shradha ceremony or a funeral ceremony, just be aware that you're doing service to the soul. Okay, you're doing service to the soul for whom that ceremony is being done. So do it with some affection, do it with some respect. Okay, this is again my suggestion. You're free to do what you want. This is what I'm going to be doing going forward, and do it with reverence, and do it with the awareness that someday we will also leave the body and we will also need these services of our descendants. Okay, 7 generations down. Okay, so let's say, for example, if someone didn't have a great relationship with their son or their grandson, guess what? They're waiting for the great grandson or the great granddaughter or whatever it is. See, the sex is not important whether it's grandson or granddaughter. My again understanding of this concept is that probably at some point people decided that, okay, let the ceremonies be done in the male line. Okay, I don't know if there's a reason for it. To me, it just seems like a division of labor, right? Because let's say, for example, there's me and my husband. Okay, and so I can, we can either do a Shradha ceremony for someone as his family, or we can do a Shradha ceremony for someone in my family, right? We really can't do them both together. Maybe you can, I don't know how that works. So the way I like to think about it is that, it's just a division of labor, that okay, let's just do it for the male descendant line in one family, and the other family will take care of their male descendant line. So it just goes down the line in the family that they are in. That doesn't mean you can't do it for other people. I just want to clarify that. So if you feel like you want to do it for somebody else, for an uncle or an aunt, feel free. Ultimately, it's a service. We are in spirituality. And if you want to understand more about it, then I would definitely recommend reading the book, The Astral Body by Arthur Powell. Okay. So where does this bring us? That was, of course, the aspect of the ancestors. So if you're doing binge eating, you can think of the fact that maybe an ancestor is looking for. So then the question is, why is that ancestor picking you? That person is probably picking us because we have that seed of desire within us. So is it bad to have a seed of desire? No, probably not. But what we can do is that while we are living, okay, let it serve as a reminder that while we are living, the more moderate we are able to become, the easier it will be for us. Because remember what I said earlier is that the desire will be 1,000 times stronger in the astral body. And we won't have a physical body to drink that cup of tea or coffee or that gulab jamun or the chocolate or whatever it is that we are wanting to eat. Okay, so if there is a binging disorder, if you have an eating disorder of any sort, it is my suggestion that when we do the Shradha ceremonies, pay attention and just do it with a lot of love and affection, and pray to your ancestors, pray to the lords of karma and to God. You know, you can use the technical prayers or the specified prayers that the priests give us, but if you just pray from your heart, it's like, you know, okay, I wish to be free of this binge, and you know, whatever aspect of it comes from my ancestors, I humbly offer it up to the gods. Okay, so yeah, so what we'll do is, one more thing I wanted to say is that sometimes when we have elderly parents and they are not able to control their cravings for things, even though they are suffering with ill health for those items, that is really a time when I would really request all of us to do some healing for them. Really do some healing for them. Clean the solar plexus a lot, okay? Because if they're struggling right now in the body with a particular desire for an item that is not good for their health, just imagine what's going to happen to them once they are out of the body. Now, you can't, you know, we possibly can't go about explaining all of this to people who don't understand the things that we understand as healers or as spiritual practitioners, but we can do the practical approach. The practical approach is do their healing, help them to moderate, help them to discipline themselves. Okay. Also, importantly, learn to discipline ourselves. So if we have a craving for something, good idea to work on it right now because it's easier. And with Master Choa's techniques, the blue triangle, the Aratic yoga techniques, if you've done pranic psychotherapy, there are a couple of techniques in the psychotherapy book. Just get rid of it. Okay, just get rid of it. And of course, there is the technique of I am not my cravings. I am not the craving. I am the soul. I am not the body. I am not the craving. I am the soul. So let's do that. Or actually, let's also, please remember that today is the full moon of Virgo, and a full moon is a good time to let things go. Okay, so it's just like let things go. So if there's any binge or anything that you want to get rid of, it's a good idea to be aware of it, to bring it to the surface, and to just let it go in the spiritual shower. So let's close our eyes, connect the tongue to the palate. Inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Let us invoke to the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, we thank you for your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, divine guidance, divine love, mercy, inner healing, physical healing. Thank you for the inner strength to practice regularly. Thank you for your divine help and protection, for illumination, abundance, and prosperity. We thank you. Let's do the soul affirmation. I am that I am. I am not the body. I have a body. The body has cravings. I am not the cravings. I am the soul. I, the soul, am not the body. I am not my cravings. I am not the emotions. I have emotions. I have desires, but I am not the desires. I am not the thought. I am the soul. I, the soul, hereby choose to offer, to release on this full moon day. I choose to release my cravings. I choose to love myself. I choose to love myself by releasing these cravings. And I also choose to love myself by creating love forms and thought forms that will serve me well. I am not this body. I am not my cravings. I am the soul. I am a spiritual being of divine intelligence, divine love, and divine power. I have the power to control my desires. I am the soul. I am in charge. Let's do a blessing for our ancestors. Let's be aware of our heart. Be aware of the crown. Let's raise our hands in blessing position. Let's visualize the 7 generations of family in front of us. You may also add the 8th generation of your children And if we have grandchildren, let's add them as well. So that's 9 or 10 generations. Let's be aware of the energy flowing through the crown, the heart, and our hands. And let us bless our ancestors with divine progress, with divine light in the form of guidance in the astral world or the inner world, wherever they may be. May the angels find their way to our ancestors and help them. Remember that our ancestors are also guardian angels for us. So there's a mutual relationship over there. Let's bless our ancestors with the ability to meet the light rapidly and properly, to be able to navigate the astral world and the mental world rapidly and properly, and to merge with the light of God at the earliest. Let's also bless our future generations with spirituality, with divine oneness, with kindness, with knowledge, wisdom, and the ability to understand the many, many layers of the universe, the many layers of the Earth's energy body, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, and the universes. Let's bless all our ancestors and all these worlds. Inhale slowly, project the energy to the ancestors. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to take a few more minutes to just talk about a few important topics that have come up in the chat. So one of the things is a topic of what is called an Abhyagat. So at the point of when somebody leaves the body in the Indian system, we have something called an Abhyagat. That is a person who we feed for a certain number of days, and we try to feed them all the favorite foods of the person who has left the body. So again, just want to make you aware that this is also a system of feeding the astral body of the person who has departed. Now again, there's no need to be afraid of all of this. It happens, it's there. It's better that we understand it and we do it with more respect. Sometimes people have reported that once the Abhyagat is being fed, their tastes, their behavior, all of that seems to emulate the behavior of the departed person. So that brings me to believe that the departed person does have an influence on the Abhyagat. This is again through my personal experience. And of course, when I study more about it, we'll talk about it. The last thing that I wanted to say is that some people have said, that maybe I'm contradicting myself, where last time I said, if you have a desire, do it and get done with it. And today I'm talking about controlling our desires. So I just want to clarify that. So the way I like to think about it is that, let's say I have a desire for a cup of coffee. I drink the cup of coffee, but at the same time, I do it with an awareness of myself as a soul. Okay. So let's say I'm drinking the coffee. Obviously, my body is drinking the coffee, but the soul, I'm observing that this particular body has this particular desire for this cup of coffee and I am drinking it. And I'm aware of this cup of coffee that I'm drinking. Okay. So that is what I mean by going ahead with the desire and working it out. Now, the second part is the control part, which means that the next time the desire comes into my mind I, the soul, and I'm saying it up, but the soul actually is just everywhere. But let's say I, the soul, observe that again the body has a desire. It's like, just like, you tell a child, like, you just had a chocolate, right? You can't have a second one today. You can have one tomorrow. Or, if you've given your children a budget of, they can have chocolate once a week, then you tell your child, listen, you had chocolate yesterday, remember? So now you're going to have chocolate next week. Okay? That's how it is. Those are the rules. So similarly, you start to parent yourself. You, the soul, start to parent all these bodies, these desires, and you tell them like, you just had a cup of coffee. Like, okay, the next cup of coffee is tomorrow morning, or the next cup of coffee is day after, or whatever you've decided for yourself. So that's what I mean by accepting one's desires and at the same time trying to overcome them. So in some ways, we're being nice to ourselves, we're being nice to our body, we're not being harsh, but at the same time, we're like, I need to slowly develop more control. Okay. Now, I just want to bring up another parable, which is, when Lord Krishna says to Arjun, this is, of course, my favorite scripture on the planet, which is, the Bhagwad Gita. When Lord Krishna tells Arjun, do your duty as a soul. When you do your duty as a soul, you do not incur the karma involved in it. So when I, the soul, do something as a soul with the awareness that I'm a soul, then I don't incur the karma of it. So that's a really powerful statement, right? That means the negative karma as well as the positive karma. Similarly, when we have a craving, if we go ahead with that craving for the sake of the body, but we are aware that we are the soul, then the karma, this is my understanding, is that the karma of it is, not as much, or is less, or is not there if we are actually able to function as a soul, which most of us are not at this point. So I'm not even coming up with that expectation. What I'm trying to say is that we need to move up to that level where we can do everything as a soul. Like even this conversation that I'm having today, it's like, is it me, Sheetal, doing it? No, because I often realize that the energy is different when I'm sitting in front of everybody and talking, and the energy is different when I'm by myself. So I, the soul, or I, Sheetal, I'm an instrument through which certain messages are flowing, hopefully from the teachers, who they consider me a decent enough channel to share this particular information with you. So, I'm just doing my job as a soul, right? So as long as I don't get proud about it, as long as I maintain my humility, that it's not me, it's my guru, it's my guide who is sharing this information to you through me. Hopefully I'll remain sorted. Okay, but if I start getting arrogant about it, it's like, oh, I know so much stuff, there will be a big problem for me personally, not for you. Personal problem will be for me. So it's really important to remain humble on the spiritual path, and I'm just hoping that I will be able to remain humble. The topic of the day: cravings and their relationship to ancestors. So when you indulge in a funeral ceremony, or you're doing it for somebody, do it with respect, do it with love. Be aware that there may be an entity out there who is struggling. If it's not your ancestor, maybe it's even a stranger, but so what? Okay, let's just help people, even when we do simple things like eat our food during a funeral ceremony. Okay, so with that, we will end today's session. Thank you so much, everyone. And our channel is called Sheetal Jhunjhunwala. It's on YouTube, and you can subscribe and you can watch the videos, the remaining videos there. And from next time, we will try and have a slide available with the spelling of my name, which is a little long. But that's it. So with that, over to Priya. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. I hope you found it useful. If you have any topics that you want to talk about, you can post them on our chat or on our YouTube video comments, so that we will try and schedule it as much as possible. Okay, so see you soon. Bye.